Good afternoon, everybody. This is Rick Baker. I'm in the Frisco, Texas office of Coldwell Banker. Here's an ongoing series of videos I have for people. It's called Mistakes That Realtors Never Tell Their Buyers or Investors. Today's topic, VA loans. Two of the biggest shortcomings that realtors have for VA loans is this. First of all, if you ask 100 realtors, 95 or 98% of them, won't know the answer, or they'll tell you that the maximum credit that a buyer who's a veteran using the VA loan, the maximum credit they can get back from the seller for closing costs and rate buydowns and things like that is 4%. That's not true. Here, as Coldwell Banker says, who you work with matters. I just closed one on Tuesday, the 25th of August, 2025. I blacked out the information, but here's the closing sheet. And what you're going to find is interest rate 5.0 30-year fixed. That contract was for $500,000. If you ask 99% of the loan officers or realtors, they'll tell you the most the buyer could get was 4% as a veteran to cover their closing costs and to buy their rate down. Guess what? Their realtor was Rick Baker. Here's the sheet. Seller credit, $28,000. That's almost 6% back. What I did is we took that money, paid their closing costs, and the rest of it we used to get a permanent 30-year fixed rate at 5%. You're not going to see that. What we did is we went out and I sat with the client on the phone and we were just shopping mortgages. And I'll have another video on this on how to shop for a mortgage, not specifically the VA loan. The biggest mistake veterans have is having a realtor that doesn't know how to use the VA loan. It's a great tool for most people. And the veterans, they earned it. People shot at them and, they're entitled to the VA loan. So you can get up to 6% back. In this case, technically, you can even go higher. You just basically run out of places to put the money. What I did is I prepaid their homeowner's insurance for the year because that's a closing cost. Most people don't think of that, but it's true. You buy your insurance that day. You use the closing costs to the credit to buy the thing. So the veteran has less out-of-pocket expenses. This wasn't an HOA. It was a master plan community. The HOA was prepaid for the entire year. So the veteran brought less money to the table and they put more money down. It helped them get us that great rate. 5%, 30-year fixed. Home run steal of a deal. That was the house I talked about on a previous video. If you look for it, again, follow me and you'll see it. House was $640,000. It was built by a great builder. You'll see it. I'll go back to the main page. Shattuck. Shattuck is a great builder. $640,000, master plan community, brand new construction, 3,200 square feet, 4-bed, 4 full bath, 3-car garage, 72-foot lot backing up to a green belt. They paid $580 and got $28,000 closing cost credit. So that's a net of $472. By the way, they had a great realtor. The house appraised at $523. That was the best deal I've ever done in terms of walking into a credit. They walked into $51,000 of free equity. Who you work with matters. Second point, shopping for a mortgage. Most people don't do this. Most people don't know how to do this. Most realtors don't know how to do this. Here's how you shop for a mortgage. The average person will call, maybe they'll find an ad or something like that. By the way, you should opt out. If you Google it, you can find the opt-out. They're called trigger leads. When you apply to any mortgage company, the credit bureaus sell your information to every loan broker in the Western world. Your phone will literally not stop ringing for a couple of days. Before you apply, you need a couple days for the system to put you into this opt-out and also remove a lot of the junk mail that shows up in your mailbox. But you don't want the trigger leads, they're called. And that's not like, if it's Coldwell Banker, we certainly don't sell your information. That's the credit bureaus, TransUnion, Experian, they're selling your information. The law is being passed now to stop that, but it's not in effect. So if you're going to go shopping for a mortgage now and don't want your phone to ring 87 times today, make sure you're opted out of trigger leads. Anyway, when the way people work and they shop for a mortgage is, maybe they'll find a commercial or they'll do this. They'll call today and they'll talk to one company, they'll talk to another company tomorrow. Maybe next week the buyer says, hey, Rick, who's a great realtor? I'm sorry, who's a great loan officer? I give them a couple of choices. Here's what happens. This is a printout of mortgage rates. They go up and down, literally. Sometimes in a hectic day, they can go up 2 or 3 times in one day. So let's say today is Thursday. On Monday, you talk to someone, and then you talk to somebody today, Thursday. Rates have been trending down. Thank you, President Trump. So rates are trending down because next month it's like a 90% certainty the rates are going to drop. But so the market's pre-pricing that in. So you talk to someone on Monday, today the rates are lower. When you call the second company on Thursday and they quote you a lower rate than the company did on Monday, you think the guy on Monday was taking advantage of you. That's not true. They were quoting you the rates in effect at that time. All you want to do is make a note of where they're at, find out, you can negotiate the rates, negotiate the fees, you negotiate closing cost credits, you negotiate the ability to not escrow. So you don't want to escrow because, like, I'm closing a house tomorrow, they're not escrowing. Between taxes and insurance, that's going to be $12,000, $13,000 a year. Instead of putting that money into the bank, to the lender's bank account, and then they write a check, I tell people, make 2 checks out every month, one for the principal and interest, and send that in. Of course, you're not writing a check, but excuse me. And then you make a separate deposit into another account. You just don't touch it. It's your own escrow account, and you move your taxes and insurance into that. So that money's in there building interest for you. You know, interest now is about 4% or so, $13,000 if it's sitting there. And again, when you close, you got to have 3 months of escrow up front. So when you close and you can have $12,000, $13,000 in the escrow account, you're picking up $300, $400 a year just in interest. That's the smart way to do it, okay? And then the other thing you want to do as you're negotiating, you want to, as the final step, you want to make sure that you negotiate in a floating lock. A lock is where you commit to the lender after negotiating all those things we've talked about. And then a floating lock means that if the rates go up, you don't pay the higher rate. But if the rates go down, you can take advantage of the lower rate. That's called a floating lock. So at that point in time, you've committed to the lender. They have locked your rate, so that's the worst it could be, as they say. Now, on floating locks, 95, 99% of them, you can only take the dip one time. So if rates were, say, at 6.5 and they went to 6.25, you could do that again. You could drop down and lock it at the 6.25. So that's how you shop for a mortgage. Those are some excellent tips for most people. Most people don't, though they shop for mortgages all wrong. They'll call 4 different lenders on 4 different days, and they'll wonder why they get 4 different rates. It is not always the loan officers taking advantage of you. Some of them do. By the way, only the realtor has fiduciary duty to the client. The loan officer, they just can't lie to you, but some of them have. But the loan officer, they're just there to make as much money as they can. A good loan officer understands that it's a relationship and that they hope to do business with you again. So that's how it works. Loan officer owes you no fiduciary duty. The realtor has to treat your money like the realtor's money, or in my case, like my wife's money. So that's how you shop for a mortgage. Give me a call, 972-836-8880. Again, it's Rick Baker with Coldwell Banker. my website, getarealrealtor.com. Follow me there. Follow me on social media. Go check out some of my other videos about things a realtor never told you about, the mistakes. So that's it. Thanks.